Happy New Year from me, Kent Kentley. Here is what I hope will be an annual tradition of what I expect to read to you in the coming year, the year 2019. I just watched last year's video and I accomplished several of the goals I set out, but there are a few that I didn't make. Here, as you can see, is the gigantic pile of books in approximately the order that I'm going to read them in. When we finish Mary Poppins, we're going to jump on to The Legend of Jimmy Spoon, which I promised last year. This fits both into the anti-fascism category and the books that my teacher read me when I was in 4th grade category. Cold Comfort Farm, which I started and did not finish, got requested. So I will start Cold Comfort Farm when I'm done with the plot against America. I'll finish the book. Coming up next, we have Sid Fleischman's The Whipping Boy, which I have had since the book came out. You can see it's a very well-loved copy. After reading The Whispering Mountain, I wanted to read another book of a similar style, and this one's much quicker than Whispering Mountain. And due to the popularity of the movie and that I have only read one Louis Barnevelt book, I wanted to read another one before Halloween, so Figure in the Shadows will come up next. Keeping with the anti-fascist category, once I'm done reading Cold Comfort Farm, we're going to jump into The Arrogant History of White Ben, which I've never read. It's about a scarecrow that becomes Prime Minister of England. And there goes the pile. After that, back to the Dark Angel trilogy, as was requested. I will read the second book in the series. When White Ben is over, I'm going to do some John Steinbeck, read Tortilla Flat. Promised last year and still not read, Under Plum Lake by Lionel Davidson, which is supposed to be an amazing book. Hope that bears out. When Tortilla Flat is done, this is going to be an interesting read, Keeper of the Moon. Now, my dad read me this book when I was 10 or 11 years old. It's nonfiction. It's a biography. And I recall it having some ambiguous racism in it, and we will address that as it goes. I remember liking this book a lot, but I want to be honest about what's in it, but we'll talk when we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Someday Angeline, as was promised last year. Hopefully we'll make it through that one this year. We're just in that little pile of stuff that I promised and didn't get to. Elidor, also promised last year. Hopefully we'll get to it this year. And these are quick books, so if I have the time, I should be able to just jump through them. Return of the 12, as promised last year, should get looked at this year. Laura's Gift. This is the first time somebody has requested a book I didn't know, and I ordered it. Now, there are 2 other requests I want to say that came up. A Welsh story and something about fables that I haven't looked into yet. If you're watching this video, hit me up again, because I don't quite remember the names of the books that you asked for, but hopefully we will make it to Laura's Gift this year as well. The Madeleine L'Engle that I promised, the spy story, not this weird teen romance that looks like it is on the cover. Another one that came across my lap, this beautiful Anatole, illustrated by David McPhail, which I'm looking forward to getting into. Since we're all the way finished with the Indian in the Cupboard series, I want to jump into another one by Lynn Reed Banks. Melusine, which sounds really good. Listen to this. Roger, his parents, and twin sisters arrive at the crumbling ruin in the wilds of France, anticipating a holiday that's different, and so it proves, but not as they'd hoped. The owner, the brooding, surly Monsieur Serpe, has a strange daughter, Melusine, whom Roger first meets tending his father's goats. She is like no girl he has ever seen, with her brusqueness and her expressionless black eyes. And as he gradually befriends her, he begins to realize there is something very wrong about her, about the chateau and her life within it. Roger senses a cry for help. How can he know that by trying to answer it, he will involve himself and his family in a shocking drama that reaches its climax in a grisly discovery and sudden death? So I am, very excited to get into that book. I mean, it's way down on the list, but if you're watching this now and you're like, read that next, I don't think I'd have a problem jumping it up in the queue. Our Halloween reading, as always, continuing with the Ray Bradbury and the Richard Matheson, which I'm sorry that I did not stick to as strictly this last October. We only read a little bit of it because I wanted to get through the Bel Airs before November. And here are the sequel pile. These are books that are waiting for you to say, hey, I liked the last book by this author you read. Will you continue? So, Nightbirds on Nantucket by Joan Aiken. A completely unrelated to the Wolves Chronicles one by Joan Aiken called The Cockatrice Boys, about fighting monsters, that I found at a used bookstore. I figured, hey, I've been reading a lot of Joan Aiken on the channel. I can keep doing that. Nobody has asked for the final Book in the Dark is Rising cycle yet. Silver on the Tree. When you do, I will read it. Again, happy to jump this up in the queue. And as promised last year, although I have now actually read these, Crystal Cave and its sequel, The Hollow Hills, and That Wicked Day, which is the last book, I was in the process of reading to myself book 3, The Last Enchantment, and somehow it got tossed in an industrial dumpster while I was reading it. Not because I didn't like it, it was just an accident. But, and comics will continue as they have been. Gasoline Alley and the new Crazy Cat book, that'll start on Saturday. But let me know if you have any other requests, and I look forward to continuing to read to you in 2019.